Hey Sarah, you look like you're about ready to record an album or something. Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh my God. Sorry, my was on mute. I said I'm just spoiled by these open backed headphones so I can still hear what's going on around me. So I believe Dr. Powers is here on his iPad. And just wait for Jeremy. I wish I was recording an album. It'd be a little bit more fun than a budget meeting.
What kind of music are you? Would you do? Are you a pop or are you?
I've sing everything, but I would much rather sing kind of folk and pop, and I sing a lot of classical though. Church music, you name it, I sing it.
Nice.
Not so, I say the opera for the legit musicians. It takes a lot of time. Where is Mr. Voigt? Oh, I guess I have to take minutes. Sorry, it's very busy, as everyone's busy. All right, let me get that up. I'm just gonna wait for Mr. Voigt a couple more minutes.
I'll send him when I am.
Okay.
Jeremy will be here in 1 minute.
Okay. Hmm.
Hello.
Hi, okay. I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 4:03. I'll do a roll call of the committee members. Carol Deely is here, Sarah Ma's here, Dr. Powers,
Here.
Mr. Hilbrands,
Here.
Mr. Voigt. Ooh, I see you. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second that.
Okay, do a roll call for agenda. Deely, Ma is yay, Hilbrands,
Yay.
Powers,
Yay.
Voigt.
Yay.
Okay, I'm gonna skip minute approval because because let's just talk about the budget. Okay, so Jeremy and I have been working via email on a list of things, and those include, let me pull up these things. Let me pull up this email. One was the department spending histories. So I was able to put that together. I'll put that spreadsheet in the department. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let me share this. Put this in the chat if you want to look at it. So Jeremy gave me the data, which included the budget projections and then the chart of accounts at the end of the year. And so I was able to put together, and I can also share my screen. Let's see. There we go. I just don't know if it's going to be big enough for you to see, because I don't see what you see necessarily. But so I was able to put this together. Let's go to the first tab. And I just gave, whatever he gave me, I just put in. So I did from fiscal year 16 all the way till this year, fiscal year 21 year to date. That's this column. And just to give some idea, I kind of feel like 20, which is last year, is kind of a outlier because of just COVID at the end. And so if I scroll all the way over to the average, I did an average of fiscal year 16 through 20. Wait, is that true? That actually is just to fiscal year 19. I excluded the anomalous kind of year, and then this one is to 20. So I just got confused by those dates. So in this column, in Q and R, you can kind of see just the average, right? So that's what the LLC was looking for. It's not like it's crazy different than what we would have budgeted. For example, dance pretty much uses their dance budget all the time. They're budgeted 9,000. They use 8,500. Sometimes they've used every penny. And you can see that in this spreadsheet. Some of the ones that didn't, athletics always uses their budget, if not a little bit more. Similarly, there was another one, counseling doesn't use their budget. They're usually budgeted 13 grand. They haven't used their budget. And again, it's just that the concept of what are those budgets for? Science does a pretty good job of using their budget. Sometimes they've used all 16,000, but on average 13. So that's just something to think about. I think the LLC was looking for the data just so that they could see like, oh, this is what we should be budgeting, or our old budgets are great, or we could revise some of them. So I actually put these numbers in the black just for my own brain. And I did on the second tab in the column S. And again, I can't see what you see if it's very big or very small. I did a suggested basis on the averages, but I'm willing to, this is my thought of moving forward. If we could on Monday present to the LSC a few different budgets. So this was the first step, right? We did this. So we kind of see what the department budgets are. And if you look at this green, this is our magic number, right? Like, what's our total? Maybe it's 300,000, and maybe that's what we're looking at doing. I'm going to stop my screen share. Oh my goodness, stop. Okay, so that we worked on, the second thing we worked on was textbook projections, and Mr. Boyd was able to provide that, and I can share that textbook. Oh, there it is. Sorry. This is the textbook projection, and Mr. Voigt clarified for me that for human geo, they're looking at this top option with the National Geographic book, including the ebook. Is that correct, Mr. Voigt?
Well, first, let me make a couple points of clarification, or changes is more like it, that
Okay.
I've heard since. One, that cultural landscape one, the ebook, she only wants 50 copies.
Okay.
And confirm that with Ms. Harnett until after I sent this to you, Sarah. So we can take the liberty of changing that quantity from 210 to 50 for the ebook in cultural landscape.
Oh,
There you go. Yep.
I see. But
And
that's not their highest part. They'd rather have the other book.
It isn't, but it provides more information, so we see more of a difference in these two. Then regarding the top one, first of all, this seemed a bit high, or how do I put it? Usually we get a few more freebies,
Okay.
and Follett doesn't seem like they're giving us much at all. In fact, I kind of chuckled because their big cover page said, "You're getting a savings of $350," and I was like, that's almost not worth saying. So I have reached out to Cengage to see if they can match at least or beat this quote and offer freebies, which they might be willing to do. They've already replied and said they'll work on it and get us something. So that quote could change. Now, all of that being said, hopefully we'll have something maybe my Monday's meeting to show for that quote. But the different items I'm seeing, one is an ebook, the other is an audio book.
Oh, I see. Do you think this first one is an audio, this cheaper one?
No, it's the other one. The ebook is the $50 one. The
Oh.
audio book is the $152, which, you know, Jenny and I talked for a while about that as well, and I'm not really sure why that audiobook is more than the actual hardcover textbook, but this is part of why we want to get a second quote from the actual publisher, and I'm a little leery about Follett and what they've done with this quote for her.
Well, additionally, those, when I was reading those, actually, I didn't see the human, I only saw the cultural landscape quote, but the cultural landscape ebook was only a 1-year license. And I was just wondering if the Follett one is all, I'm sorry, the National Geographic was also 1 year, because it seems.
It probably is, and maybe Troy knows more, but I'm pretty sure all ebooks are usually a 1-year license.
It just seems like a big investment for what, without proof of concept to know like how we're going to use it, you know, so I don't know. But I'm absolutely would love to hear more from her on what she thinks, how they will use the ebook.
I mean, so again, I had, you know, a good 10, 15-minute conversation with her. The ebook is intended for certain students. Maybe they have an IEP that designates they need to have an ebook.
Oh, nice.
They might, and same with the audiobook, they might have a certain IEP that says they have to have that. Some students just prefer it. I don't think they have an actual number in mind when they say 50. That's just what they've determined that they might need, or their estimate, I guess.
Okay. So we're still looking for more information on that. And so just so these two books at the top, that's an either or, that's not a both.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
Correct.
Chemistry seems pretty standard. And then the English novels seem pretty standard. So this total is, you know, don't read too much into that, because
It'll drop by 30 or 40.
Or 40, yeah. Okay, so that is one thing. Based on our emails, our third, which I haven't worked on it all, is what to expect from department budgets versus what the school covers. I wasn't sure if that's something we want to talk about now, if we want to move forward and go back to that.
Yeah, I mean, and I should have put something together for that,
It's
but
okay.
between all of this, I've just been swamped. So normally the school would cover textbooks for sure. Basically, the department budgets that they have are their more year-to-year supply needs, and things of that nature. If it's a larger ticket item like a textbook or a licensing, that would be covered by the school and usually through the activity fee, which is now the general school fee. The
Okay.
only gray area in there is, and I realize we want consistency in things and the teachers do too, but when we get a certain licensing where it's like just one teacher is going to be using that licensing in that one department, it's certainly not something that we want to start encouraging the school to be purchasing for them. That's a great example of something where you've got to use your department funds the way you deem they need to be used. And that's the, you know,
So department-specific licensees, you know,
yes, although like Math Excel is clearly a math license, but it's being used by the entire math department for the entire student body.
oh.
So it's a little different.
So you're saying specific teacher potentially, like a,
Maybe, I mean, some of these are case by case, but
Okay.
you know, I understand what you're saying, that there should be a more of a solid, it's hard to answer the question because we don't know what they might present to us always.
Some of those could be grade level courses. In other words, it's used in, English 1, but not in the rest of the English department. So it might be more appropriate to have that come from the department budget. But it can go either way.
And then frankly, it also depends on costs. I mean, if
Yeah.
I see the English department never spends their budget and they want a $3,000 license and they get 5,000 a year, I'm going to say, hey, pay for that out of your department budget first. And if you need something above and beyond, we'll revisit that budget later. But the school's not going to cover it, and then you don't use all of your funds in your department. So I guess we could say the school will cover it. We'll get the money back eventually anyway, because those department budgets do not roll over.
right. Okay. So, and then
Are there other examples?
tech, like physical hardware.
Again, like if it's something a specific teacher wants because their workstation really needs it, it's, I'm going to defer to Joanne first. I'm going to say, you got to
Right.
email Joanne about that. And Joanne will either get it for them through her budget or, depending on the circumstances and what it is, like a TV in the band room, he's going to pay for that on his own because I don't.
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know what
So
it is.
I think there's a way to maybe write some language, even though a lot of it will still be case by case, but just to have that. And this was my thought, like after we meet, again, we'll have another set of takeaways and then we'll just keep working and slogging away at like kind of the, I think that if I could present on Monday, the answers to the LSC questions, I think that would be helpful, even if I don't have all the answers, but like the attempt to, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll try and write something up to that effect and have it ready for you on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I have also here, I'll probably put a presentation together and ask you to just look over it.
Okay. So do you want to, do you still want my input on that, or you're okay?
If you have anything different than what you just didn't say, sure. Because I just
Yeah.
took notes and then
Sure.
took some notes, if something
Not-
comes
not
up, just
really, but
email it over.
okay.
And then our fourth item is surpluses and internal accounts, which I just put that together and I shared that spreadsheet. Internal accounts, okay. Well, I only did the departments. I didn't do every internal account surplus.
So there was a shared document with you guys, I think, for the April meeting, I want to say, and I can find it and send it to you if you like right now.
Oh, yeah.
The
I'm sure I
last-
have it in here if it's April. What was it? Do you remember what it was called?
I just know surplus was in there, or surpluses maybe. Let me find it for you quick. Chart of account surpluses, sorry, this is as of May 3rd.
Oh, that. Okay.
And that was where we got that rough 600,000. And I called it chart of account surplus.
And was it in the budget documents? I'm just looking, sorry. Chart
No,
of-
I think it was more so something I shared with you.
Chart
but if not, I can reshare.
of account surpluses. Huh,
You're not seeing it?
I'm not. So yeah,
So let me
yeah,
look
I
at
mean,
it
I
then.
just been in my head using your extra 600-ish. I'm sure you shared it with me. I just don't have it on my drive easily.
No, maybe I didn't. I'm not seeing it here, so. I do have it in my drive, but it doesn't look like it was shared.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So we have that, and that has a 3-year scope.
No.
Okay. I don't think we need 3. We just need to know what we're starting with.
When you say 3-year scope, you mean 3 years from now or?
No,
3
no. I'm just reading what our email says. It says surpluses past 3-year scope, but I don't think that's important. I think it's just whatever we have right now.
Yeah, I guess I don't know why or how we would determine what those surpluses are. 3 years.
Right. Right. So I think it's just in these notes. Okay. 5 was assess software from staff. We have that from Ellen. Did that? I could share it here. I'll share it in the chat. Oh. Well, you guys are all CPS, right? I don't know. This says it's restricted.
Miss Hand would not be.
Yeah, it says change link. Oh, okay. I fixed it. Anyone with the link? Oh, you can look at it, Amy. It's not secret. It's just software. So this was good. The thing that this is a great example, right, of what you were just talking about. For example, Miss Colby, I think that's her name, for choir, these are very specific to her department, right? So I could see that being something that we would want to make sure she has enough departmental funds to pay for. I'm going to skip signs because that's my biggest question. And I don't know if you saw Miss Miller's 7814. She just updated your number. Your number was slightly different. Your number was 7214. She says it's
Turn it in.
Yeah, she says it's 7814. $600 difference. I don't know, unless she typed it in wrong.
Here's the updated quote for next school year. 7814. That's correct.
Okay, so yeah,
I may have put last year's.
whatever. It was 7214. It might have been a typo. You know, it seems like it was just like.
Sure. Either way, that is correct. It's 7814.
Okay. Let's move on to number. I could share my screen too.
That might be easier.
Yeah, sorry. As you can tell, I do a lot of not sharing my screen. Okay, so row 6, I'm skipping science for now. Row 6, these seem very, I don't know what department that is, Brown.
That would be diverse learners.
Diverse learners. So this seems very Creative Cloud, Brain Pop, News to You. He didn't put costs. They didn't put costs. I don't know if these are really low cost things that you guys have covered for them, or if they've been using their own department funds.
Those low cost items like Brain Pop, News to You, I think IXL as well. Those have all come from their accounts.
Okay, so that's a good example of.
Creative Cloud is more of a school-wide. I'm not sure, Troy, why would he have Creative Cloud? Does he do digital imaging stuff with his students? He must, and he may have one student that he works in his resource room that has a digital imaging class, Troy, correct?
It could be.
Is scope to be purchasing it. It's purchased by the digital imaging class.
Right.
So this is I didn't write the survey, so there may be a little bit of overlap here or confusion by the teachers as to what's being asked specifically. And so
I would assume that if it's a school-wide license or like a bigger license, then or purchase, that
That could also be confusing because Creative Cloud has free versions of things. So I'm wondering, like, if he's using Spark, that's a free version, but it's in Creative Cloud.
Right.
So yeah, so I wasn't so worried about that one. There's lots of unsure of cost. This was like whoever is.
That's
this-
Nate Turneau, so he would be social science. So a few of those I know we have, and I would have to look into how it was purchased, whether it was social science funds or the school purchased it, but I'm guessing most of those were social science funds. However, some of those, like Moat, I mean, is that something new he's hoping to get, or is he answering? I'm not sure what the actual question is. Are they asked what do they want, or what do they currently have in
It says other than the software listed above, which was
during this school?
it says what additional software has your department used during this school year? So it sounds like they used it. Funding was either school or FOJ. You can't remember. So
And some of these teachers, if it's really small, they may just be paying for it. I mean,
right.
it is a nightmare to try and get reimbursed from CPS. And if we can't pay for the software as an inactive CPS vendor, they can't get it, but it's not worth it. So they just pay for it out of pocket, which is unfortunate, but this is what we work with. CPS has it set up that way.
And the last one is science. So I think that to get an idea of what I need to talk to Heidi specifically to see what they paid for out of their budget. I mean, and yeah. So because this was so intense, and then she mentioned like GoFormative. Maybe there was they kind of did it piecemeal, but there might be a cheaper version or a cheaper way to do it if they did a license. And
to me, it looks like she is answering that with some of those programs are the school-wide programs, not just science, like Screencast-O-Matic. I think is that not part of Screencastify? Do you know, Dr. Powers or Troy? And WebAssign, I'm pretty sure we use as a school. Turnitin, we definitely used as a school.
Screencastify was a school-wide purchase last spring.
It was, but Dr. Powers, is Screencast-O-Matic the same thing?
That I don't know.
I mean, I would assume they're related.
Yeah, that's why. Excuse me. That's why I was going to follow up with her separately to get to differentiate between what the school, that. Okay, so let me share where I think we can get a budget approved or how I think we can do it. Let me find the let me find this. Okay. Okay, this one. So Jeremy was gracious enough to share his spreadsheet with me, and I know this kind of is not great to read over Zoom, but column B is the column that you presented at the meeting on Tuesday, and I just made a few slight. I hid your, I'm sorry, B and C. So B is fiscal 2021 and C is 2022. And I just hid your column that had your notes because I was trying to just do some comparisons. So the top will never change, right? The top is the top and we're not going to change it and we can't change it and it is what it is. Jeremy provided.
I mean, we are still appealing, so that negative 260 and it's eventually going to have to go away one way or another. So that has to balance for us to close out with CPS. So there will be changes. We're just still in the works on how they're coming about.
Right, and then just did they give you any timeline on those appeals?
They're reviewing it now, and Dr. Powers is in a little more contact with them, but they're working.
I spoke with that office yesterday afternoon, and there's supposed to be a meeting today to deal with it. But I didn't I didn't get any assurances whether we would hear today, later in the day, or whether it would be over the weekend or Monday. They are aware of our timeline, or of course, everybody's on the same timeline with regard to budget completion, but they know when our next budget meeting is, for example.
Right, and every other school I know is appealing. So like, but let's assume we don't get it, right? So, well, I mean, hopefully we get some of it, but we need to have money to put toward that, or we would move it out of that. We'd move some positions to internal accounts. Is that what you're?
That would be correct.
Right. Okay. So at the end of the day, the total, it would be great if we don't have to spend $260,000 of our own money, and probably
It
we'll
would
get
indeed.
probably get some of that money. Another thing that's not, and I'll just walk through where I was going and what's not on here. Obviously, is the ADF funds. If that's what we're calling them.
That's correct.
Yeah. So just okay. So this internal accounts. This I had left how you had it, Jeremy, because I think it was you had reduced budgets that you felt comfortable doing, I think. And I just left it. And so my columns E and my columns F are just other budgets. Like, so for example, if you read the little comments, and I can share this too. It's like, it says like, the name of it is like Sarah's, whatever. How do I get to, I'm like, how do I get to the chat while I'm sharing my screen? Okay, I'll share it in a second. I will share it with you, but oh, here it is. Oops. All right, there we go. I named this my own, so I didn't change anybody else's. You know how Jeremy, you had like change, you had gain. I just named it change, and I added a little thing. I can hide this later, but I just wanted to have the math. So as I did the different example scenarios, I would have that. Let me freeze this. Okay. All right. So my thought was, why don't we figure out a few scenarios to present to the council that we think could be doable. So this is the one that you presented, which was the 30% kind of department cuts, some other cuts that you had made, and whatever that number is. I'm just saying 600 right now in internal accounts. So I went down, and I know that the council, because I have a feeling that they're going to want to see different scenarios without a tech fee, without an increase in that fee, or maybe a $50 fee, and so I just wanted to be able to quickly put this in here and work the numbers. So this is column E is row 40 is the tech fee. I put an example where it's 0. I put an example where it's $50. For the individual budgets for departments, I left it in column E, and you can read my comment right here. Departments stay the same and no tech fee. I put it as no cuts to the from 21, fiscal year 21. And then in column F, for example, I put, based on the historical numbers, I kind of put a ballpark number in. So that just adjusted it. I didn't mess with anything. I changed will be in yellow. So anything that's not yellow, I didn't change. I did change this Turnitin just based on the 600. I think it was a typo. Oh, and actually that might make sense because your gain number was different. So I don't know. And then, I did an example where the translation service was more. We put 25 in instead of 5. Hold on. Just give me one. And then, for example, I put a column for textbooks, and this was, I didn't understand the AP Human Geo cost, so I put, I put a random 41,000. Okay, sorry. And then I put the change. So like this change is from year to year. And boy, just so can you explain like this remaining balance of 342,000? Can you explain? Can you talk to that a little bit? Because I think I know what it is, but I just want to make sure.
So it's hard for me to do without scrolling.
Okay.
It's basically all of the fees
Yes, it's all the fees.
to the good, so
Yep.
positive,
Mm-hmm.
minus all of the debits.
Which
Should-
are here.
right.
Right.
Are you saying they don't add up correctly?
No,
or-
no, they do. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
math, right? You did
Yep.
it. But that means that we are adding to our internal accounts, or
Yes.
okay,
But in the
But-
top section, we still have 260
right,
we had to make up.
right. So what I did in this row 99 is I took that into account. I took whatever that number is, which is 260, and I added it to the green to get like, okay, so we're still in the black,
Right.
81,000. And then we're in the red. In my other scenarios, I'm in the red. Now, I wanted to kind of eventually work in how that would impact I'm pointing at my screen like you can see it. I wanted to work in like, how would our internal accounts reserve be impacted so that people could see like, oh, if we did, and then the FOJ balance, which is just something else that people should know. But I could put I ran out of time, but I could put another bucket in here or another this showed like sorry, let me just do this
So I hear everything you're saying, and I think
Yeah.
it looks great, and thank you for all your work on this. The
But-
only thing I would be concerned about with those remaining balances, again, this is all with the assumption that everyone is paying all those fees.
right.
We know that they don't every year.
Well,
Now, it should be in an ideal system, whoever didn't pay fees last year are paying them this year, and it should all kind of average out. I just, I can't make like last year was a weird year, so I don't know if anybody paid fees last year. Now things that are getting back to normal, it seems like people should be paying the fees. And I would say, I don't know, Troy, do you think 70 or 80% of our families do pay their fees within the actual year?
I would say higher.
Who just put it off until the senior year, and then they either say, help me, or they pay it all at one lump sum in their senior year.
I concur with Troy. I think it is higher than 70, but that's higher than 70 out of those who
Of the
do not
60.
have fee waivers.
Yeah, but we've taken those into consideration already.
Right.
So that's the only disclaimer I would put on those numbers, and that's why we try to really push the whole estimate thing, because. And then there's also, like you're finding, a lot of departments won't use all of that budget. So there's some leftover from that as well. So it's a hard thing to use, these hard figures for. Our budget's much more flowing than that.
absolutely. But potentially we could lowball that collection and say 50% are paying. 50% of the 69% are paying, in a timely manner, so that we would have another column that would say cash flow, so that we could ensure that you're going to have the cash flow that you need. And that's what I keep trying to explain to certain council members who are like, we have all this money. I was like, yes, but it's their estimates of projections, and then there is a such thing as cash flow. And so you want to make sure that you can pay your bills. And so if we could do this maybe with an assumption of I could even go lower. I can make the spreadsheet have all different scenarios of 40%, 50%. Based on, we could look at, and Troy, you were saying it was higher, but that was off the bat or by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
It's hard to predict. Okay, so some,
I mean,
so it's, Go
It
ahead.
might
Yeah.
not be difficult, Sarah, to get what we pull in fees for the last few years if you really want to see that information.
Is it,
But bear in mind, the fees have changed over the last few years too. So, you know, when the fees were lower 3 years ago, it's going to look different than what they are last year. And there was a pandemic thrown in. So
yeah, no, and I'm just wondering, is that gonna
yeah,
help
I
us
mean, if you want it,
predict?
I can find it and dig it up.
But that data would be by the end of the year. Because some of these costs, these purchases are up front.
Say
Or-
that again.
Um,
I'm saying I can find receipts. So basically all the receipts are going to look exactly the same for the fees we've collected. And I can export those receipts and give you totals. I don't know if I can get a breakdown or that chart I sent to you one time, a pivot chart.
you shared with me like what you had collected year to date. I just want to make
Right.
sure that I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you would have the data that showed the fees that were collected by year.
I would
But-
have to look at the pivot chart and where those numbers came from. What I'm saying is I can easily in Oracle say all receipts collected by, essentially my name is on all the receipts for fees. So let's say all the fees collected by Voight for FY18 total this amount. Now it's not going to have a breakdown of activity fee versus freshman fee versus class fee, et cetera, temp IDs, sports team fees, all of that stuff. It's going to be intermingled. But it's
Right,
pretty
but at the
easy.
end of the day, it's all goes to internal accounts.
It all goes to the
Right,
same
right,
internal accounts, and it's pretty easy for me to run that export.
And I would have to adjust for the amount. I would kind of have to adjust. I'm just wondering, do I need that data? Like I would have to adjust based on the actual total fee that year.
I mean, that's a question for you and the LSC.
No, I would rather just kind of make an assumption that like we know we normally collect X. Let's lowball it to make sure that we have cash flow. No, anyone? Does that make sense? No.
It does. I'm always leery of like putting too much emphasis on these kinds of numbers, but I get what
Like
you're saying.
assumptions.
Yeah, especially with the pandemic, everything is just so volatile right now.
Yeah, especially and that's kind of where I was going with this. If we didn't do a tech fee, but that means we'd also get rid of the freshman fee.
Is there a lot of concern surrounding the tech fee? Is that why we're looking at it being reduced?
I think people are concerned. I think people are concerned with raising fees. So Carol, who's not on the call anymore, she's like, we should just ask people because many people might be able to pay it no problem. But you can't make it an optional fee. I mean, like, I don't know how that
No.
works. No. Okay.
No, I in the case of the tech fee, we're taking on a significantly larger technology obligation with going to one. And it isn't just the initial purchase, it's the long-term maintenance of everything, parts replacements, the additional things that go with all of that. The maintenance contracts on them, or the guarantees, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that type of thing. So all of that adds up considerably. And because we haven't done it before, and we are more than doubling the number of Chromebooks we're going to be using and issuing them to students to carry around all the time, those expenses have to be taken into consideration. Because we're making that major fee change to one, other schools that have been doing one do have a distinct or separate tech fee, anywhere from $75 to $125 from some of the research we did.
Was that annually though?
That's annually, yes.
I mean, I come from a school where we had $100 tech fee, so annually.
Yeah.
But we only had
And
$100
we were looking-
school fee.
Oh,
You know,
I see.
and I did have some questions about Joanne's projections, and I'll reach out to her again, but there's a year where she was saying we needed all these more Chromebooks, and I put it up here. I took her narrative and put it in a table. And at one point we have 3,000 Chromebooks. And I don't know if that was her assumption that we would be retiring things earlier than she had projected, or if we.
I think her assumption is by the time the student graduates, that Chromebook is kaput.
Yeah.
So she's assuming a 4-year life, not a 6-year life. All right, so then.
I thought she was always, I guess I didn't see her column there.
Well, she did 5 years. She was assuming a 5-year. And if we want to change that to 4-year, then that will change those other numbers.
I think it might be tough. Like, I'm trying to envision how that works. So if a senior graduates and they've got their sticky gross Chromebook that they're returning back to the school, do we give that now to a freshman and say, here's your.
That's what poor schools do. No.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. And maybe they'll get, but then what happens when that one goes kaput and they come back to us?
Well, then it's a 5-year plan. It's just knowing what that replacement is. If we do the plan based on a 4-year and we get to keep them longer and we have more money,
right.
Great. So that was my hardware projections had us having at 1,300 Chromebooks based on the lifespan of a 5-year. But that's something that we can change. Okay, so sorry, I got a little off. Let me go back to the big budget, and let me make this bigger. Again, I don't know what you guys really see. Let me do. Sorry, I'm doing a tiny bit of work. This time. Okay. Yes. Okay. So right now I left it as 88,000 for one-to-one spending plus the 25 for their budget. And let me go to that. Let me go to her thing. She had put 153 was her projected cost.
So she is figuring in, right now we have a pretty big surplus in the freshman fee, and you will see it on that surplus sheet. And we thought that was a good way of taking that extra funds that have been paid over the years for freshman fees and putting it into the Chromebook program.
Is that about 40,000 then?
No, it's about 60 some.
All right, so she'd be, according to that math, she'd be using 40,000 of it. That would be 88 plus 25.
I thought it was supposed to be about 65. I haven't looked at Joanne's table or tech plan all that closely, I'll admit.
No, she just said 153 was what she needed.
Yeah, didn't she put it in there? If you scroll to the right, I thought maybe not.
This is me. This is my table.
Sorry, got it.
She did a narrative.
Yeah, then I probably saw something else.
Let me pull up her narrative. Sorry. I love this too because it looks like it was scanned. Yeah. Oh.
There, see, she has the 65.
Okay, so she wasn't using her 25. She was going to use 88 plus 65, and then she was going to save that other 25 for her regular teacher purchases.
The other point I was going to make is that 88 would be pretty much solely for Chrome. I mean, we can combine those two lines if you want, but she'll still need a working budget through the year.
No, I think that's good. I'm going to make a little note. Yeah, she'll need a working budget. You never know. I'm going to make a little note here that says that this would be supplemented 65K freshman fee, which is going away, maybe.
Yes, and then to add to that 65 grand will need to be taken out of the 600 we keep talking about of surplus money.
Let me put that in here. I mean, can I just add it as a line?
Sure.
Or can I just make this 88 plus 65?
Point, you're owning the document, so I'm certainly not going to raise any.
Well, should I make that 88 plus 65? That's really what it is.
Yeah, I would say either they need to have the 65 taken out of our surplus amount or make the technology spending 153 total.
I wish I had $800,000. Okay. No, I mean, this is just,
It should be 65,000 plus 88. I
where
think.
did I get 50? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay. At least that shows them where, literally what it does capture all the expenditures.
Is that going to make sense to them though?
I'll,
I mean, I know the big argument was getting details on some of these line items. Is that going to make sense to people? I mean, now that we're going through it.
I think when I present it, I'll present it in a palatable way. I mean, that's kind of why I have this in purple. So this is what I was thinking also is this is all software stuff. Except for I don't know what Project Lead the Way is, and I'm sorry that I don't know that.
That supports the engineering program.
Okay.
That's a separate budgeted area.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not a software. I didn't think so. It didn't sound like one.
It sort of is, but it's
but it's
more
there.
like, it's more like a program we have to enlist in for us to be able to have the CTE engineering program. Is that correct, Dr. Powers?
That is correct.
I don't know exactly what they get for that 3,200. They might just be able to say they're part of the CTE program. I really don't know, but
It provides them with essentially with the curriculum, which is a statewide curriculum.
got it.
Great.
And then they adapt the curriculum for our students.
So that could be a licensing thing or considered one. It could not. I don't know.
It seems like it's
Membership.
I'll just make a note. Oh, it's for CTE curriculum.
Yeah, it's definitely one department that uses it, but it's not optional. I mean, that's why.
No, yeah, no, and can't spell curriculum, obviously. I still can't. This and then the Loyola dual credit is a whole separate. We pay Loyola, and then the kids pay the fees who are in that program.
Not exactly. Go ahead, Dr. Powers.
Yeah, the students who can pay the tuition to Loyola do so. Those who qualify for fee waivers, the school pays for them.
Okay, so that's what that money is.
That
That's
is
correct.
strictly the fee waiver students.
Okay, and that's okay. Great.
And that number is also an estimate. It depends on who signs up.
Great. That's fine. But that's something we hope everyone who's a fee waiver student can do those, right?
That is correct.
Right. Okay. So I added textbooks because I think that is a part of our budget for.
So then I think a better number, if we were to go with the more expensive social science, would be about 60 grand.
Yeah, this is 59,700.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. And then this is all the software listed. And then I don't think there's other software. I think you captured it. I just wanted to clarify with Heidi. Do we need another software thing, or? And
and I appreciate you and Ellen surveying them, but I don't think we're ever, it's not going to be 100% no matter what. They're going to come up with new things every year.
For sure. And then maybe we have a miscellaneous software line item. I don't know, or that comes out of their budgets because
Edlio is our website.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily like a licensing, but I mean, I guess it could be in that same group.
Well, it's interesting because Mr. Hilbrand just got a grant from FOJ for MailChimp and stuff. So
I mean, it's a great example of our runaround with CPS, and this Zoom meeting is another example.
Yeah.
They're a vendor, but of course Zoom is like, well, we're not going to take a school check or a purchase order. You can only pay with a credit card, and that doesn't exist with CPS. So like same with MailChimp.
Same with
Troy
MailChimp. Okay.
absolutely needs to have that program,
Right.
and there's no way for him to get paid or for us to pay for it. So it has to go through Friends of Jones.
No, I think that's great. You know, it is what it is. So
But there's a lot of them that way.
yeah. And then this the copying charges, that's a contract, an annual contract.
There's a lot of pieces to our copying stuff. So right now we are in a managed print services contract for certain machines in our building. And that is pulled from our CPS budget. So if you were to go all the way back up to the top, there's that 11,000 that's kind of hanging out there that nobody knows what it does.
Did I go too far? Oh,
Nope, you're there.
this guy, number 7.
Surplus funds going to supply plus, if you expand that row, I think it says plus management services, or it should.
Yeah, it does, but I have this menu in the way. Go away. Go away.
That's fine, but so
Oh, I
that's
see.
what that means. That is part of our copier stuff. We've just started asking them for a little more information about which ones it's covering, because we think it's a little high. And then what was the number we gave to the other one? 30?
35.
So we have
30,
we have a
30.
maintenance agreement with Rico, and I want to say that's 14 grand. But then we also have overage charges that probably come close to that same amount. So that I think that, I mean, I can crunch those numbers again and see.
No, I'm fine. I just want to make sure we were having a good contract and you're saving. You know what I mean? Like,
Rico is, I mean, so our 2 biggest machines we actually own. We purchased them, and then we just have maintenance agreements for them. Rico is definitely doing a good job of getting us deals as a CPS school or as the CPS preferred vendor.
okay,
But I won't say that we don't spend a ton of money on copying, and
you know.
would love to see that go down.
So it is 30, or it's way more than 30 usually?
Oh, no, I think 30 is right, but
Okay.
so then you've got to add that 11, and then
Right.
I would call paper part of it as well.
Right.
So there's
Oh.
another 18,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And you gave me the position, so I'll just, work through that, and I appreciate that. But I'm, again, I'm trying to predict what the council's looking for. So, I think kind of this will be, I think we'll have a few options, and we can crunch the numbers right during the meeting. If people are like, oh, what would happen if we did this?
I mean, at this point, Sarah, whatever you think is best, I think as an overall statement, it's going to sound better coming from you, because we've obviously rubbed her the wrong way, so she doesn't want to hear from me. So that's my opinion about it.
I would like to also revisit some of the department budget numbers, especially in the third column you have there. For example, orchestra, the reason it expanded, the orchestra program has expanded considerably.
Yeah,
So it's supporting a much larger number of students.
That's a great point he makes.
Yeah.
Some of those, it might appear as though the average is way skewed, but that's because the program has expanded.
Right. And again, like I threw these together. So obviously, in this year, they've already spent 8,500.
Yeah, and I've just ate up
just-
the rest of her budget, so she's certainly going to use it all.
Okay. So, that's good to know. So, oops. You accountants. Okay.
And again, because that it's a little difficult for me to read this. And again, it keeps
I know, I'm
moving
sorry.
around. So it's a little difficult to see just exactly, in terms of the averages. For example, I see a couple of departments, social science and world language, being brought down because of the averages, I suppose. The same is true here of, counseling we knew because they were overfunded for a while. The yearbook costs, that's not the purchase of the yearbook, that's the operation of it, the supporting of the actual programming. Otherwise, everything appears to be pretty much stand pat.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a great deal of change.
Right. I think people just wanted to know for sure. And I have the data to show them, right? So, and again, like, we don't have to do anything. We could leave them, they could leave them how they've always been. And I just want to be able to, in the fly, show the impact. Like,
Sure.
yeah, I'm just,
If we could go down to the very bottom in terms of
yes,
our summation here. And again, this has been moving a little bit
yes, I'm
quickly.
sorry.
And I have a very limited screen space on what I'm doing here. So I'm kind of squinting at it. That's a little bit better. Thank you very much. So we're looking at essentially, if we're looking at the column C, E, and F, if we're covering everything from projected budget for next year, projected income, for example, with regard to the fees and so forth, then column C, which is the first, is that ours? Is that the one we presented?
It
Correct.
was until I just changed
Till this was changed.
the tech,
Okay.
the tech,
So-
yeah.
That would leave us then with a surplus, a balance of $16,000.
Yes, and you wouldn't have dipped into your surplus of 600,000 at all.
Okay.
Okay?
Am I following that correctly, Jeremy?
Yes.
Yep, that sounds right.
Again, I'm limited in what I can see here. Okay, now, if we were to go to the next two columns, we would be looking at a deficit of 216 or a deficit of 152. But again, then those would dig into the 600,000.
Yes.
Correct.
That
And
is correct? Okay.
Yes. That's what those other numbers below the 600 show, like the impact to that surplus.
Okay. So, okay. What were the particular items that made such a difference between columns E and F? Because
So
we're
for E, I have
70,000.
E, I made no cuts to any department budgets and no tech fee. So I was just working.
Okay, we defaulted to the 2021.
Yes. And again, I was,
That's fine.
I'm
No,
not in love with any of
that's
these.
the
I'm
main
just
difference
putting,
because-
examples out.
No. I'm trying to see where the difference is, because I don't see a $70,000 difference in the department budgets between columns E and F.
Right. The difference is in F, I made the tech fee $50. I was just like, oh.
That's okay. All right. Oh, that's right. There was no tech fee in
right.
column. Okay.
I just was playing with that. I think that people might, okay, so like, to be frank, if you really want that tech fee.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up on.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Mr. Voigt?
I can.
Okay. If you want the tech fee, like, I think we need to, think about compromises. This budget doesn't reflect any of the ADF funds.
I can, yeah.
It doesn't reflect I'm sorry.
Rental income.
Rentals, thank you. I'm just and I think rentals will.
Yes, it does not reflect anything with the ADF
So
And it also, I mean, it's.
or the OCT or the OST fund.
OST,
And it
ADF,
doesn't show if CPS does give us the appeal, but that
appeal,
won't
the
really
rentals,
affect the internal accounts anyway.
and potentially 100,000 from SRO in June. So that's a lot of money, potential money, and I feel like, do I want to add that in here as potential, so that the administration would feel more comfortable with these kind of numbers I'm highlighting that are reducing the surplus, because knowing that we're gonna get the, I'm gonna move this, ADF, OST, and I know those are restricted. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that we can spend those anywhere.
And they're
Um,
typically going to be just next year.
Yes,
We're,
right.
we're going on that assumption.
Right, and we don't want to hire someone that has funding for 1 year. I'm sensitive
That
to
is
that.
correct.
ADF, OST, and then SRO. So like, oops, I don't know what SRP is. S&T. Again, I don't like thinking about money that I don't have in my bank. But you know, I don't know what was OST, Mr. Voigt?
I'm sorry, OST?
Out of school time, it was like 150,000.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
It's
That-
extra. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Dr. Powers.
That's about 150 in
Wait,
round
is that the
figures.
ADF? No.
No, ADF is 125 per pupil.
Yeah.
No, that's the point. Yeah. That came in the same additional funds, but they're two separate buckets.
I see. But these are the funds we're not seeing until July 1,
That is correct.
which is why I'm not very familiar with them yet, Sarah, but
And we still have not received guidelines.
yeah.
I know. Am I reflecting those amounts correctly? I don't know if you can see those on your screen.
Those are round figures. Yes.
Right. Okay.
We have been told verbally that the SRO for each of the two SROs, if we do not continue with the program, is 50,000 each. The difference being compared to the ADF and the OST is those funds would be ongoing. That is what we have been told.
Right. So
in other words, if we employ someone utilizing the former SRO funds, then that would continue on.
right. And again, this is what I call magic money until you actually see it. The mad purple is magic money. Oh, that's terrible.
Sorry, you're
color.
breaking up.
So that's $496,000. I mean, that's not that again, like it depends on what you could pay for it, but there's talk of like test prep. I don't know. I don't know what, and I don't know if the SRO is a one-time thing or if it's going to be.
I mean, another option is maybe rather than jumping into $100 tech fee, we ease them in a little more and start with 50, and then next year.
I'd like to add also, I think.
And I've also considered.
Can anybody hear me?
Oh,
Yeah,
here, we can
could.
kind of hear you, Dr. Powers.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of connection problem. I think we need to have some tech fee because we're making such a major jump in that area. In addition to the funds that it generates, it also indicates to the people who are paying it that that's what that is going toward to support the new program.
And I mean, another option would be make the tech fee 100 and drop the general fee 50, so that they are accustomed to it being 100 for the next year.
I think also, Dr. Powers, I'm concerned. I hear what you're saying about because we're making that commitment, but we also just received, 1,140 Chromebooks.
Right, but we have to maintain them.
Yes, true. Okay.
Replace screens, broken things.
I have replaced stuff on Chromebooks, so I'm.
You're familiar with. Yes.
I am. I've replaced keyboards and things. I have them at my school.
I would not be in favor of reducing the general school fee because that has a greater flexibility in how we're using it, especially to fund the departments. And if it is the sense of the LSC that we not charge a tech fee this first year, or that we charge a modest one. I mean, we're taking away the freshman fee. We're taking away another fee area for a specific class area that affects quite a few students.
Which class is that?
That is the AP Computer Science. And we have quite a few kids take that.
Was that the one that's 95 or that one's more expensive?
That was, Jeremy, do you remember what that was on the fee schedule?
Sorry, which one? I had someone at my door.
The AP Computer Science, how much was that on the fee
It
schedule?
was 50,
was 50.
sorry, 40. The class fee,
Okay.
you mean?
Yeah, for the class, yeah.
It was 40 and we took it up altogether because it is only causing tons of confusion with families.
Right.
We could, I mean, if the LSC wants it back on there, we could, but my argument to Dr. Powers was we just answered about 500 phone calls from I mean, I'm exaggerating, but a lot of phone calls from families. I thought CPS was covering AP Computer Science. Why is there an AP Computer Science class fee, but no other AP class fees? Like, it's just
Right.
very confusing.
Okay.
Well,
so
with the elimination of that and of the freshman fee, the freshman fee affects over a quarter of the students, and it's annual, of course. Adding a $50 tech fee is not an unreasonable ask.
okay.
I mean, we're already going from the original one we proposed, which was 100, to one of 50, and then perhaps we see whether or not that's going to be sufficient.
Right. And with the caveat that we're working on the strategic long-term tech plan. And so what I'm trying to do is to just bring some options, right?
I understand.
Yeah. So I'm not for or against, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. I'm just trying to, in the spirit of compromise and data, which I love.
I understand that.
Yeah. So,
But in the spirit of compromise and data,
yep.
we're going back to the, sorry, we're breaking up again.
Oh, I think it's your connection.
Hello.
We hear you.
Hello.
Can you hear me, Dr. Powers?
It must be that international connection he has.
Maybe
I'm back.
okay.
No, what I was saying was, if we're going back to the department budgets at the level where they were previously, then adding the tech fee is, a balancing in that regard. We're taking in a little bit more, we're spending quite a bit more, even though it's not going into the same lines.
Right. Honestly, it's really not that the tech, the department budgets are not a big part of the budget. I mean, honestly. Okay. And so my final ask was to think of what I don't know how to word this, but I'm kind of looking for like a chess piece, a compromise piece of either
A concession?
a concession. I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, am I looking for? Oh, I had put more money for translation. That was one type of concession, like a concession. Oh, my husband's calling me. I don't know why.
Well, we'll take out the tech fee out of the fees.
No, I mean, I think many people can afford the tech fee. So what?
Yeah.
How are we serving the students? Right? Are we? Someone had mentioned a college and career counselor, or not
Sorry,
necessarily.
I'm losing you again.
Oh, Dr. Powers.
If I could, I could offer a little bit of a suggestion maybe, or an opinion.
Yeah.
This is completely non-academic. I'll throw that out there right away. And so, teachers may have a better idea of what serves.
Okay, I'm just now coming back on.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
I was just going to make one suggestion, Dr. Powers, or sort of an opinion. And this is purely not academic related, but it's from my purview, from my perspective. This is what I see a lot. There is a problem with Chicago Public Schools in that their fee waiver process does not help the middle group, the ones that are on the cusp, especially the reduced are a perfect example, but even some just above that reduced are even more problematic for us, because you know, the reduced gets a little bit of help. The ones who just didn't make the cut above the reduced, they're still expected to pay these high fees that families who are making, you know, six figures are paying. And that's why we have the waiver process and such. I don't know, and this is something maybe Dr. Powers, you know, wants to give some thought to, but I would love it if we had some sort of program in place that met those people's needs. And we have the appeal process right now, but it's clunky. It's not, you know, it's only when they come to us and then they still fill out a form. If we could have within their filling out the FIIF, like, hey, I know I'm not going to qualify, but I still need help, check that box. And then we say, okay, you check this box. These are the criteria we need to hear from you. Whether it's we want to hear your story of why you need help, or we can't really ask for, you know, too much income information, but we probably can ask for a little bit. Something like that, and maybe that's how we catch these people that are having trouble making ends meet.
Well, on the process that we have now, we do have people give us some context, you know, whether it's a job loss, whether it's extra medical bills, whatever it might be. Then we have a little bit more of an idea of what their circumstance is, even if they don't qualify for the free and reduced.
And I like to, I mean, I think I'm making a suggestion. One is, you know, I'm a very liberal-minded person, and I think these people are the ones who are the most in need of our help at this point. But also, I'll be selfish and say it would make my job easier if I could identify these people on the forefront versus having to figure it all out and play catch up with them at graduation time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so that's in my notes.
Can that be added to the form, Jeremy, or is it the form something we have no control over?
So I think it's better found when they're registering, when Troy has them going through the electronic registration and it's time to fill out the FIIF. And maybe there's another selection. I'm presenting the idea, but it makes me nervous as well. Like, what if we get 500 people who say, yeah, I want to do that?
What about, okay, so two questions. One is the free pay none and the reduced pay half, or I can't remember.
Correct.
Free pay none, reduced pay half. And I think like you already have your process. When they're seniors, if they haven't been able to pay, they can't pay, you know, like.
They can't, but it's also, so for example, today I had a family who, you know, he got the waiver appeal, and of course we approved it, and that cut out 480 of their fees, but she's still got $930 some on her account because they haven't paid the last 3 years. And it's because they don't know that waiver plan is in place until their senior year when they know I need help badly. And we try to advertise it, and it's on this student fee schedule now. Not now, it's always been on there, I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't mean families are reading it and they're seeking out the help they want or need.
Right, and that's not something counseling could do, like as a part of their checkout.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can't speak to that. Dr. Powers, I don't know if he knows more.
Can I just chime in for a moment here?
Yeah.
So adding to the FIIF, that is a federal form that we are completing. That
No, I'm not saying adding to that form, Troy.
Hang on, just let me finish my thought here. So that's a federal form that they, you know, when Lori types it in to, you know, the magic machine, and it spits back yes or no. I don't have a clue. No one has a clue of how that actually is formulated. You could have a family of 5 making $75,000 a year that's denied, a family of 2 making, you know, 65, and suddenly they're approved. So I don't know where in that form, and already it's confusing to a lot of families, and Lori does a ton of follow-up. So I don't know where you would really want to put that without asking too much information and making it flow within that document to capture those people that you're talking about.
I guess I just thought, Troy, because don't at some point they opt out or are denied?
There's three options. They can be accepted, or sorry, not accepted. They're free, reduced.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
four. There's
I understand all
NA
that.
where
I
they
guess
opt
what I'm
out
saying
and then
is,
denied.
in your registration form, don't they click somewhere if they're opting out?
Yes.
So in that checkbox, could this be another option? I'm opting out, or I know I'll be denied. I still need help. Something like that.
Well, we also, I mean, we've had the appeal process too.
I know, but that's what I'm trying to make better or streamline or get it at the beginning.
Is
not
there a
at the
way we
end.
can do it? Is there a way we can have that up front, in other words?
Well, I guess that loops back to my original statement is we have no clue who's going to get denied or accepted until we plug it into the federal
So-
system that we're given.
So then it could say, I
Test
know I'll be
that.
denied, but I still need help. And then maybe it says, hey, we are here to help you, but it has to start with you filling out the FIIF. Even if you know you'll be denied, you have to fill this form out, or we cannot help you with the waiver or the appeal process.
I mean, we can work on that. I mean, I like the idea because I mean, I was in that situation when I was in high school, you know, and we got no financial assistance because whatever. And so there's the people that are in the middle ground that never.
Yeah, and Sarah,
Never get
that
it.
middle ground he's talking about,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with these families, but it's like college expenses are coming up. That's not indicated on that FIF. Or dad has been in the hospital for 3 months. That's not on the FIF. So
Right.
CPS doesn't take those other outliers into consideration.
Right, and like you said, it's a federal form, so it's not even CPS. So it's
Exactly.
like you're saying is if you've been denied, they're automatically put into this next step process where they could say like, oh, we do need help because of XYZ, or immediately they're saying like, I may need help. Put me in
And
the
I-
waiver process.
Yeah, I have tons of respect for the students who want the equity process, and I think what they're doing and what the LSC is trying to do with all of that is great work, and I want to see it continue. I can tell you from my end, the parents who are in need financially, it is just as big or a bigger problem for them. I mean, I'm not trying to say one wins over the other, but there is a big disparity in the finances and how we decide who pays fees. And I feel like a jerk in the process because they think I'm just nickel and diming these families, and that's not what I want. I want them to reach out to us and say, we need your help. And, you know, there's going to be a few people who are doing it and trying to work the system, I'm sure. But for the most part, I think our families are honest when they really do need the help.
I would agree with that. And can I just ask this? Once an application is denied, can we then communicate with people that we still have an appeal process?
It's part of the problem with it to begin with, Dr. Powers, is again, CPS doesn't give us a good way to even communicate what happened
but
with
we
the
know-
FIAF.
Yeah, but I know that. But I mean, if it's denied to someone, doesn't that go back to that individual?
Not very easily, no.
Okay, all right. So they
And
don't
not
know
till
whether
much
they've been
later.
denied or not. Okay.
They used to have letters that they would let us send out or
Yeah.
issue. They've taken those away. It's all, I forget, Troy, is it like an insurance thing, or they're worried families are going to use it for?
It was misused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part of it.
I mean,
And
we could create our own form, our own letter, and send it out to families and say, this was your status for the year. But I don't know if CPS is okay with us doing that. Yeah, I don't know if we're breaking rules doing that now. They're just.
I don't
Well, and we
think
can't
we
be
can
the
do that.
only school, right, that has kids on the cusp, and then
Oh no.
right. So, I love this conversation. It is 5:20 on a Friday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just wanted
Um,
to throw that out there when you said concessions. I mean, I don't.
no,
think
this
it
is,
was a
where's my,
concession.
I lost my email with my giant list. Um, okay, this is a concession to think about over the weekend. Um, during the last meeting, Dr. Powers mentioned how the APs spent a lot of time doing reviews, like 50% of the time doing the reach reviews. And
That's
that's something,
correct.
and that's something that has to happen and will not change. So my
Correct.
concern with using ADF funds to fund that principal position, I'm sorry, fund the AP position, I think people are going to be crabby about, because it's an SEL. That ADF money is for someone specifically qualified for SEL work, and I just think that the APs are so busy, as you know, for their description of their responsibilities documents and the reach evaluations. I think it would be a tremendous concession if we said that that would be someone else, someone specifically, someone cheaper than an AP, someone specifically devoted to SEL, and then they could organize, if we have extra money from the OST that we're going to use for tutoring, or we're going to use for test preparation classes, that they would be in charge, and that would be their thing to champion. And I do understand that it wouldn't necessarily be a position that, you know, if we don't get those funds year to year, and I know
Mhm.
that puts you in an awkward
May
position.
not continue, yeah.
I know that puts you in an awkward position, but I think that's what that money is for.
Well,
And-
let me ask this then, and if that is the case, and again, part of my thinking in that with regard to that assistant principal position and seeking the ADF funding for it was the inability to fund the position in the budget, you know, where we were getting it, the way we had everything laid out. However, if we are able to fund that position, and we've already voted as an LSC to fund those three positions, that and the one, the other
or
two
half the
positions.
most, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. If we are fine with that position funded, then it is not necessary to take somebody who is currently on the payroll to have them fill that out. Or if we do have somebody who's currently on the payroll, it would be like a 1-year appointment, and then they would return to their previous position. In other words, we'd hire, let's say, for example, if it
Right.
happened to be a teacher.
If you had someone that wasn't doing anything for a year.
Well, no,
but-
we don't have anyone quite like that. But for example, if a teacher were very interested in doing something like that for a year, we could then hire a replacement teacher for that person for 1 year. That's a possibility. Or simply we hire somebody from the outside for that ADF
Yeah,
funded
no, I mean,
position.
I love what you're saying about someone who would really love to do that work, who was in the Jones family already. That they don't have that learning curve,
Mhm.
you know. But that's, so yeah, so that's kind of where that's where I'm going.
Mhm.
I think there's a, you know, I've been on in budgets where a guy would stand up and say, "We have plenty of money," or "It's an election year, there's plenty of money." So
Mhm.
I think getting us back, I think that we should present multiple budgets, and I do think that that is a concession that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I'm fine with
I
that
do
as long-
think that based on the budget, like form where people put questions, that people really were looking for someone that had SEL qualifications. So
Mhm.
I love to hear that. So
And we may or may not have someone like that already on staff
right,
where we could reassign them.
great. And
But
then
if we do not, then we'd hire from the outside. And you're right, there's going to be a learning curve for somebody who doesn't know the community.
right, right. Um,
And we
okay.
don't know whether that's a continuing position, simply because we don't know about that budget.
I know.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But there's plenty of money. This is a great budget, you guys. You know, I'm excited. I think Monday's going to go great.
Sarah,
I
one
am-
thing,
Yes,
one thing I
Jeremy.
wanted to say, and you know, again, not trying to like create a rift or anything. it was a little frustrating that it felt very attacked. And I would love it if you could point out the reason we have a $600,000 cushion is because of the hard work that we're doing here in this office, myself, the clerks, Troy, and admin. That surplus is there because we bust our butts getting these fees collected every year. And a lot of schools don't do that. So, it just feels like there was a lot of ingratitude for what we're trying to do with this budget instead of, hey, thanks for having that there for us in this tough year. And I just want to throw that out there because, again, if it comes from me, it doesn't sound, I don't know.
Yeah, I think collecting of fees from my other school, that our clerks spent a lot of time making sure those fees got collected. And we
It's a
still,
ton of time.
we only got 85% collected ever because
Right.
people would say, we're a public school, I'm not paying fees. But we didn't have any requirements for graduation. Like you just got to leave. You haven't paid
Well,
your
and
fees.
I mean, as the point of clarification, it doesn't change anything with their diploma or graduation. It's just whether or not they can participate in ceremony.
Right. And I know it's late. One point of clarification is if that person, for example, that came in and did the appeal and you're able to get it down, but they still had whatever 900 left, can they not appeal that away too?
So, I looked at her form and I said, we've taken off 480. If the other balance still poses a problem, we don't typically do previous years, but if you're still having trouble, please let me know
I see.
and we'll see what we can do. And she wrote back and said, thank you. So I assume that means she's okay with the rest of it. We can only do so much. Some people are very proud too, and they say, no, we want to do our part.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted clarification about that. And then
Sometimes those are case by case, but technically speaking, they should be doing that waiver appeal each year. If we left it wide open for all 4 years, you can imagine the sort of chaos and the families that would be coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, can you just waive everything?
okay.
I don't know. Again, there's not a perfect system for this.
So my takeaways are I'm going to just get with Miss Park just to figure out her software need. I think the textbook line looks good unless we see something else from there. I might add something to other software. I don't know. I'm going to keep working on this, and I know you guys don't work all weekend like I do, but maybe I'll put together a slide deck and I'll have Jeremy review everything to make sure I didn't make any major things. And then if you want to throw a list together of what the department budgets cover, and then obviously with the caveat that there's case by case basis exceptions.
Okay, so you want me to work on something for that, right?
I think that would be great. Yeah, just
Sure.
because it's closer to what you do. You're more familiar with it. So
Okay.
Can I ask you a quick question? I know we're all itching to get out of here, but for the $25,000, how was that number arrived?
I don't know. I 5 seems small. I just picked 25 out. I don't know. Do you have a better number? I'd love a better number.
So $5,000 that I gave to Jeremy is basically my discussion with Atlas Communications, and they really couldn't give us a number because we don't. I mean, the number of documents and everything vary every year. So I based it on 2 primary languages, 10 mailings, emergency emails, and various other things. And one of the suggestions that some of the members of the equity committee suggested was to do in-house. So those are the things that we were pursuing as well, which while the teacher's overtime rate is lower than the Atlas is also trying to make a profit and pay their employees. So that's kind of how I came up with $5,000. It might be a little bit more, it might even be less, who knows?
Do you think we'd have staff that would want that extra overtime to do translation, or do you think people
I've
are
already had
tired?
people sign up for it.
You did? Okay, so
We've got Spanish, both Chinese teachers have agreed to do that.
what approximate? What's an approximate overtime rate? $100, 50, 70, approximately.
Yeah, maybe 100. It
So
depends
I'm
on
just
the,
gonna make an assumption of 100 an hour for something, and then I'll translate that to a certain number of hours.
No,
And it
perfect.
could be less, right, Troy? You wanna make that $100 an hour?
It could be. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
For our teachers, it would be a prorated amount from their contract.
yeah.
Right,
So
so,
it could be anywhere from 50 to 75 or something along those lines.
but
or-
they're
or
also
more.
likely our AP teachers who are
Yes.
doing this, or some of our
More senior
more
people.
veteran teachers. So they're the higher end.
so I'll put
Yeah.
75 to 100 an hour.
Yeah.
For
That's
overtime,
conservative.
for that's conservative? That's conservative, okay. For
No,
in-house
that's
translation,
reasonable.
yes, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting slap happy. I have a very busy, crazy weekend.
So that's where I was just curious how you came about that number. That's what my number was based on.
No, Troy, I literally just 5 minutes before the meeting threw 25 grand in there. I will redo this, not like I'm gonna redo this. I was just playing with the numbers.
But I know that there's been a lot of like asks for like details. This kind of thing you almost can't until you like fully like.
Well, let's do this. Let's assume there's 2 communications a week that need, you know what I mean? Like we can assume something like 2 communications a week or more. I'll throw something like two communications per week, X weeks. You know, and maybe it's more plus some like special something. You know, I don't know. And then
I
I'll
would
try
recommend, I'd
ahead,
recommend we
Dr.
keep
Powers.
the 20, I'd recommend we keep the 25 simply because if we don't need it, then we don't spend it.
Right. But I will try to like work backwards and see what that would get us.
But do you think the LSC is going to look at like, well, okay, Troy gives us 5,000, and then we jump to 25.
I won't throw you under the bus, Troy. I'll I will, let's say if it's $25,000 and let's just say it's, you know, $90 an hour, that's only 277 hours. That's you know, like a couple hours a week, and that's both languages. I could see you could easily spend that.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll work on it. I promise. Oh, okay. I'm at work on this. Oh, okay.
I
Hi.
forgot my mask,
Oh,
so I'm just gonna wait outside for Ethan.
okay. I'll tell him you're outside. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should have muted. I'll work on that number, Troy.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have minutes even somewhere? Dun 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 dun. Dun. I guess. Is there any other? We're gonna meet again. Well, we'll see you on Monday, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another meeting June 7th at 3:15 p.m. And we'll adjourn this meeting at 5:37. And I'll share the slide deck. I'll share with the whole committee, and then, you know, I'm sure if you get any information, like as far as appeals or whatever, let me know. And Jeremy, I'll give you access to my personal craziness, and you can, if you have changes or comments, let me know.
Okay.
All right, thanks
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank
Very
you so
good.
much, everybody.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Okay, goodbye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.